way. Okay. Good. It's 6:30 and we've got a full group. We have 34 people here and I know more will be coming. So, hello everyone. Welcome to our last heart-to-heart connection and communication. I think is what we call it, connections and communication. I think so. Heart to heart focus group of the 25-26 school year. We've had five of these so far, and each one seems to get better than the last, but they've all been fabulous. Heidi, who did the power of positive intent last session, is back with us this session. She also did Sophie's books for us, and You Are the Safe Place. So we have been so fortunate to have Heidi, who is a conscious discipline certified instructor. And I'll just give the quick little overview, but first, some housekeeping details. Please make sure to mute yourself and put your name and your program in the chat box if you can. And then, because if you joined with your phone, it might just say phone and we don't know who you are, and then we can't send you the certificate. And we will tomorrow send the certificate for this hour, plus the recording, plus the slide deck or the handout, whatever Heidi has for us. All of that will come to you tomorrow or Monday, depending on little Patty and Paige's situation. I was just sharing that Paige, our Ready to Grow coordinator, can't be here tonight because her 2-year-old broke his foot in their family room with both parents present. Isn't that the way it always goes with children? So, anyway, we're glad you're here. Little words, big skills, helping children connect and communicate. Heidi White is our presenter tonight. She's really special. She's really become one of our neighborhood or one of our village members here in St. Joe County. She has in her past been a teacher, whoop, whoop, a teacher, a principal, a director of Head Start, a director of early childhood programs for a school corporation. And now she is one of the rock stars with Angela and Letty training all over the US. Training educators and program leaders in about conscious discipline, SEL. We're letting them still in. We're at 45, everybody. Woo.
Wow, that's
Anyway,
exciting.
it is, and they just keep popping up. So we are so glad to have Heidi with us. And again, please make sure you're on mute, but when it's time to talk, please come off mute. We really like that. It's only we don't want to hear the sidebar conversations, right? And then oh, they're still coming in, a couple more. We're going to hit 50, Heidi. And
Nice.
put your name in the chat box with your program. And we're going to send out the certificate tomorrow or Monday. So you don't have to connect with me about that. I promise you, they will go out to everybody either tomorrow or Monday. And if someone registered but didn't attend, they will get the recording but not the certificate. So I think we're ready. And I think
Great.
everybody's in. We're at 49. We need one more to hit 50. Okay, everybody, I'm going to oh, here it is. We're at 50. Um,
Nice.
I'm
Wow.
going to go on
That's
mute
great.
myself.
That's really great for a late April because I know how busy spring gets and with your children. And so thanks so much for being here. I've got to tell you, I am hoping that tonight, because I am not going to most likely tell you something you don't already know tonight, right? This is a group of early childhood professionals that run into these same situations every day. And I know you have brilliant skills and brilliant strategies that I want you to share with all of us so you don't have to just listen to me talk tonight. So I'm hoping that you'll share some of your experiences with us tonight and come off mute and share. But let's go ahead and we're going to do a quick wiring of our brains tonight because I have, of course, always a lot to get to with all of you. But thanks again for joining us. And I just have to tell you, I traveled all day today, so I'm hoping I sound coherent and like I know what I'm somewhat talking about. So thanks again for joining tonight. So I want to start out today. I did a pre-conference session in Minnesota. About 2 weeks ago, and it was called Milestones, and it was for lots of childcare and family childcare folks. And I got to listen to her name is Robin Goebel, and she has this book, Raising Kids with Big Baffling Behaviors. And gosh, it was so in line. I'll hold it up here again. Raising Kids with Big Baffling Behaviors. Um, and it was so in line with conscious discipline. I got to actually sit in on a couple of her sessions. And one of the things that she talked about, and I know I mentioned a little bit, was that we as adults need to find more opportunities to play. And because we are so busy and there's so much in our lives, we have to find what we call micro moments of play. So, what are those small moments where you are playing during the day? So, those micro moments help us. Um, oops, sorry. It helps us reduce stress, helps us feel more creative. It helps us build and strengthen our relationships, and it helps us improve our emotional resilience. And what she says is these are all in under a minute. So so one of the things that she talked about was these short acts. So even a 10-second laugh or gesture can really change your body from she calls it from connection to protection, right? So you can move in protection from protection if you are stressed or something has triggered your nervous system to more relaxed and more able to connect. So my micro moment for you tonight is some laughing, giggling babies. So this is going to be our micro moment of play. Now, I'm going to forewarn you that the first, and I'm not sure how you feel about this, but my sister does not like these videos at all where they throw cheese at babies. So there is throwing cheese at babies. So if you don't like it, I'm really sorry, but this baby giggling is the cutest thing. So, and hopefully you can hear this. So here's your micro moment of joy. Can you hear it okay?
Attention, un, deux, trois.
Didn't that just make you feel better? Regardless of how your day was. So I want you to think about what are ways that you play throughout the day. Anything that you do throughout the day that could be like a minute or less that just helps you move from that protection to connection. You can either come off mute or you can type it in the chat. What are some of the ways that you play throughout the day? Anybody have any ideas? Anybody? I know
Hi.
there's lots of ways that you
Oh,
do it.
I like
Hi.
it. Hi, Rosemary. I like when we do free play in the kitchen area. It's just so fun to watch what the kids make and the silly combinations they make and how they use the little blender. And you see them like my mom, some of the kids washing the fruit, so they're seeing that at home, and that just right there, just watch them do things that they're picking up from other people, I think is really just kind of makes you laugh and just they saw that at home somewhere and they're picking up on it, and it's good things they're picking up on. And you know that you have to eat your fruits before you can eat your chocolate chip cookie. And I mean, it's like free play, but it's just they're so innocent and carefree in that free play time. It's just really enjoyable for me to watch them.
That's great. Who said badminton? I love badminton.
That's me. We have
That's you. Oh my gosh.
we
Just
have
so you
a
know, Terry, I took intro and advanced badminton in
in
college.
college.
Yes,
Whoa.
I love badminton. That's so fun.
The reason it's so funny is the 11-year-old and 14-year-old grandsons just get the biggest kick out of my poor play. So, there's this whole laugh at me, laugh with me. It is lots of fun.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Um, I love to put on silly voices and act out little stories with puppets, seeing their own little acting skills and just hearing the laughs. I love that. Running and tug of war with my grand dog. Oh, I love that. That's so fun. Anybody else? Some ways that you play? So here's just a couple of quick ideas. And, just maybe I think you can do a reaction. So if you do any of these, send up a heart or a clapping or whatever. So anybody doodle or color? Anybody do that? They have these really fun adult coloring books, and man, they have really fun markers. I'm kind of a office supply geek when it comes to like fancy pens and markers. So anybody doodle or color? How about any 30-second dance breakers out there? Just like if song comes on and you just do a quick 30-second dance break, maybe in your kitchen or um, somewhere. I do. It's really fun. Oh, I love that. Anybody share a funny, I'm not sure if you say a GIF, or a TikTok video that you've watched. I know my niece and nephew, we kind of have this running thing when we see something silly, we send it to one another, and get a good laugh. Anybody do that? I bet lots of us on this call do that. Anybody do crosswords or do Wordle or those word find books? Or does anybody on this call puzzle? Like put puzzles together for fun? Notice my face. My sister is a competitive puzzler. So she goes to puzzling contests and tries to put puzzles together as quickly as she can. And that to me sounds like a form of torture. Sorry for all of you puzzlers out there. So any of you do any of these things? So even if you don't have much time, see if you can find a couple of minutes throughout your day for just some of those micro moments of play, whether it's just laughing, whether it's dancing, whether it's coloring, whether it's doodling, anything that you can do, because that really helps to reset your nervous system. If you find that you're under, a lot of stress or there's some things that are going on, just find those micro moments of play throughout the day. That's my message I'm going to leave you with tonight. So let's take a couple minutes since last time and let's talk about some glows. What's happening in your center? What's going in your centers, in your homes? What's going well in your classrooms? What have you tried that you're like, man, I rocked this and this worked really well. So what are some glows that you all have from the last time we talked? Anybody? I was in some of your classrooms when I visited in March, and there were a ton of glows happening. I took a ton of pictures of some of the glows that I saw. Anybody willing to come off mute and share? Ooh, completed written progress report forms. Woo! That is a glow, right? That feels good when that's done. Anybody willing to share?
Heidi, can I share about the new St. Joe Quality Improvement Grant, the new grant we got yesterday?
Absolutely.
Talk about a ready to grow glow, you guys. We had applied for a community foundation grant so that we could extend the South Bend Quality Improvement Grant outside of South Bend. It could be all of St. Joe County, and we received the grant. So now we will be able to open that grant up to the full St. Joe County programs that are part of Paths to Quality and all of that. So it's good news. And that was my glow for yesterday, and I'm still glowing.
That is amazing. Who else? Let's hear some more. Success in my new job processing enrollment forms. Love that. That's great. What else? What have you been trying, conscious discipline wise, or anybody tried anything with the Sophie books? Anybody used any of that positive intent when situations come up from last time? Anybody willing to share? Any glows out there? Anybody? I would use my Ferris Bueller, but some of you are way too young to know who Ferris Bueller is when he says Bueller, Bueller. Anybody out there? I'll give you a couple more seconds, see if anybody wants to share a glow. Getting better at anecdotes. Oh, great. Do you want to explain more about that? Getting better at anecdotes? I was able to successfully help a boy who often displays challenging behaviors the other day. Woo! Yay! Tammy, do you want to share anything more about that? And how you were successful?
I can, but my dogs are out here with me, so they're probably going to chime in also. Um, oh yes, because now we have a dog walking by, of course, when I come off mute. So yes, we have a little guy who often presents challenging behaviors in one of our classrooms. And so when the teachers need help, they know to call out, and one of us will come in and try to support them in any way that we can. And I don't know that I did anything special. I think it just happened to work that he needed a break. So I asked him if he wanted to go for a walk. It was a beautiful day. So we went out on the playground and he decided he didn't want to walk. He wanted to run around. So I let him run, get that energy out. But I told him before we went out that we weren't playing, we weren't climbing on the structure. We were taking a break and just going to go for a walk. He went over to the structure once to try and climb on it. And I reminded him, I said, remember, I said, we're not out here to play. We're out here to take a break. And he looked at me, and I think he was deciding in that moment which way he was going to go. And he climbed right back down and came over to me. And we ran down to the other side of the playground and went back in the door. And he successfully reintegrated into the classroom. So,
yay!
Yeah.
Tammy, that's a strong relationship right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have strong relationships with this little guy. We're trying anyway.
That is great. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
So more focus on kind behavior, like when a child asked all the friends to have a turn in the rocking boat, and she does know Ferris. Yay, good. There's a few. At writing them, so much easier now. I work in the office at my job. I had a child who was being physical with his teachers. I went in there and he was just really sad, because his grandma had just left. We sat together and he calmed and was able to join the class. That is great. That is a lot of great glows. So thank you for sharing. Okay, so let's just review a little bit because part of what we're going to talk about tonight in terms of teaching some of those social skills, that comes only when we can look at behavior differently, or we can look at that child differently. And that's the piece of positive intent that we talked about last time. So instead of just seeing the behaviors as, they're doing it on purpose, we can see those behaviors as a missing skill. And so some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight are some of those skills. And then how do we provide support and teaching for those skills? So we have to always start right with ourselves, because that's what conscious discipline is all about. We will start as regulated adults. So that means we're going to pause. We're going to regulate ourselves. We're going to relax our shoulders. We're going to soften our face. We're going to take a deep breath. And we're going to be the co-regulators. Because remember, when we're in those different parts of our brain, we see behavior differently, right? So when we're in our survival state, we see that behavior as a threat to our authority. We see it as bad, and then we see it as it's deserving of punishment, right? Like we want a pound of flesh for all of the inconvenience these children are putting on us. When we're in emotional state, we sometimes see these behaviors as irritating, right? We just want them to stop. So we might temporarily get them to stop, right? But we haven't really done anything to help it when it comes up again, when we see these same behaviors again. And that's what I always found, is that I had a lot of information about behaviors, right? I had, what time it happened, what day it happened, who it was with, but I never really knew what to do next. And so all I did was write another referral slip, right? And never really got to the bottom of what that child needed and what that behavior was saying. So it's only from that executive state, when we actually can take a deep breath and find our pause, that we can choose to see that behavior. And I wouldn't even say misbehavior, I would just say behavior as a call for help or a missing skill, instead of just being, disobedient, non-compliant, however you want to say it. So what we need to do is we need to put our loving glasses on, right? And we need to be able to see with that positive intent and reframe that behavior as a skill gap and not misbehavior. And we talked a lot about this at the last one. So when we reframe with positive intent, we reduce our own stress response, right? So we can move, just like Robin says, from that state of protection to a state of connection, where we are open and willing to work with that child on the behaviors. It helps us see the need or skill gap behind what that behavior is saying. And then it opens the door to teaching the missing skill, instead of reacting or sometimes even punishing the behavior. So why do we want to teach social skills? Clear, explicit teaching helps prevent conflict in the future, right? We're teaching skills so that children know what to do in those moments. It helps us build positive play, and then it helps us create a calm and inclusive classroom. Right? I'm not telling you things you don't already know, right? Everybody smile, right? This is what you do day in and day out every day. So as we go through these, I really hope that you come off of mute and share experiences that you've had. What are some of the strategies that you use as you're teaching these social skills? So here's a couple that I picked, just some basic social skills. So taking turns, using words instead of actions, right? Joining play, understanding and responding to the emotions of others, handling conflict calmly, and then respecting personal space and boundaries. So just a few of the things that you probably run into on a daily basis. So I want to start out with a little bit about how you can do this. So one of the things that we found in our program is that the majority of our social behavior issues happened during free play. right? Which makes sense. Non-structured, kids are having the opportunity to play. So we were just thinking about, so how do we build in some strategies to support children with these skills and to teach them? Because what we found was that there were a lot of children who weren't sure how to play, right? They weren't sure what to do with the materials. We had what we called the serial dumpers, right? That just go from center to center and just dump out all the bins and then leave, right? So we were thinking, okay, so what can we do to provide some of the supports for kids during that free choice time? So here's a couple of things that we did. You know, you might do some, you might not, but we talked about the number of children at each center. So sometimes if it was a very, a center that everybody wanted to be at, especially when it was new or just introduced, we, put a limit on how many kids could be there to really facilitate the play in that area. Really spend some time introducing the materials and model how to play with them and what to do. Now, you don't want to say, you want kids to be able to create and find their own ways of playing, but sometimes we have to start out with smaller steps by introducing them. Play and demonstrate. Get on the floor with kids, play with them, model some of those social skills, give them some of the language that they need for some of those social skills. And then our biggest time where we had so many issues was cleanup. So I want to just quickly spend a little bit of time with you on developing a routine for cleanup. So teaching these things at free choice. So here's just some examples that we did, that we looked at for number of children. And then what we did was we spent some time thinking about each center. And then what are the agreements that we're going to teach at each one of those centers? Okay, so this is also really helpful to have, especially if you have volunteers that spend time in your classroom, or like if you would get a new assistant or somebody new in your classroom, because sometimes some of those conflicts happen because people aren't aware of what those agreements are. So I know I remember talking to one of our classroom assistants that if any water got on the floor of the sensory table, close the sensory table, right? We're done. We're not spending any more time in the sensory table. And it was like, nope, what we're going to do is we're going to help children understand what our agreements are for that center. And then when those situations happen, we'll know how to respond, right? Like we're going to teach them that if water or sand gets on the floor, we're going to clean it up, right? So here's just some ideas about blocks. And then we came up with a poster for each center based on what our agreements are. So just might be helpful as you think about where you see behaviors, when you see behaviors, and what are those types of behaviors, that some of this might be able to just really help the environment with some of those social skills as well. Here's the sensory table. I had a little girl that she would drink the sensory table water every day. Soap, food coloring, whatever was in there, she would drink it. So we had to come up with water is not for drinking, it's for playing. And for any of you or all of you that have cleaned out a sensory table after a day's worth of children playing in it, ooh, it's bad, even with all the hand washing. And all of these agreements just need to be taught and practiced for each center. And then here's the visual that we put up for the sensory table. Here's our routine for cleanup, right? So whatever your cleanup signal is, when you hear that, we're going to stop, take a deep breath and relax. We're going to think about what we're going to start with to clean up, and then we're going to check the picture for help. So we had a clean block area, a clean sensory area, a clean dramatic play area, looks like this, so children could see it. And it really helped with our cleanup. If you are looking for more examples and a planning tool for how do you develop those center agreements, it's in 6 Weeks of Success, starting on page 156, if you have this resource. Otherwise, Terry and Carrie, the other thing I'll do is 6 Weeks didn't have all of the centers. So I will send you all a document that has all the center agreements as examples when I send the slides for tomorrow. Okay, so you guys can all take a look at that. So if you want to spend some time in your center, in your home, really thinking about, you know, how do we build our environment to help support these behaviors as well. So page 156, starting in 6 weeks, and I'll send you some more examples of all the centers. Sound good? Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about taking turns. Okay. Now, one of the words that's really hard for me, especially with infants and toddlers and preschoolers, is sharing. Sharing is not developmentally appropriate until a little bit later, right? Like maybe 4s and 5s. So what we want to do is we really want to focus on taking turns. And I always said in our program, if kids are fighting over it, we need more of it, right? So we might need a couple of pieces of that play equipment. Or I was in a classroom where, you know, they all wanted the same cars. And so we got out several different bins and put cars in different bins and put those bins all around the area. So then other people could have a bin of cars. So just if we don't teach the turn taking, there will be grabbing, meltdowns, and really just constant disputes. So very young children aren't developmentally ready to truly share. And it's appropriate not to require that, right? So instead, turn taking and supported play are the right goals to start working on this. So some of the steps include, you know, learning to wait, giving up a toy and letting someone else have a turn, and then trusting that you'll get another turn, right? So there's 3 different steps in terms of this turn taking. So, and I took this right from Angela, so hopefully you've seen this in Angela's presentation, but asking for a turn, it's tap them on the shoulder, look and wait, and then say, turn please. You know, just tap your hand and say, turn please, or may I have a turn please? So really quick, very easy 3-step asking for taking a turn. Okay. And this is really hard for some kids, and we can't expect kids to give up their toy, but we're going to encourage it and we're going to practice it. We're going to model it for them. Anybody do anything different when they are doing turn taking or practicing turn taking with children in your classrooms? Anybody have a different strategy, or anybody tried something like this? Anybody willing to come off mute and share? Anybody? What do you find? Do you find a lot of issues with turn taking or sharing? Pre-K class, we use 2-minute hourglass timers. Carolyn, can you come on and tell a little bit more about that? It's a really nice visual, by the way, for kids so they can see the.
Yeah, I just keep 4 to 5 2-minute hourglass timers on my desk. And so they know that that's kind of a policy. They can go get a timer. They have to tell someone, I'm timing you for a turn with that. Especially things like you said that are new or that I don't have 10 of.
Mhm.
And when that 2 minutes is done, then they have to go back to the person and tell them, now it's my turn.
Carolyn, I love that. So you did some explicit teaching around those timers, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Love that. Anybody else use timers? Or any other strategies? I love that. I had this situation. I taught him to take turns. It makes all the difference. I have to share a really funny story because I'm not sure if you can use them. Childcare licensing would not let us use rebounders, which are like the mini trampolines, which they're so good for kids, but we were able to use them because we weren't childcare. Um, and so we had a set of those sand timers. I think they might have been from Lakeshore or Kaplan, and they had like 1 minute and 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And so, we were teaching the turn taking and teaching them how to use the rebounders. And um, so one of the children was on the rebounder and got off, and then he said, well, I'll go get you the timer and then I'll turn it over for you. Well, lo and behold, he knew which one was 1 minute, and he went and got the 1 minute one. It was so funny, and turned it over instead of the 5 minute one, right? So he was knowing that he would get a turn a lot faster because he knew that it was only the 1 minute timer. So this might be a visual that you want to print off and just have and use when you explicitly teach and practice with kids. Might be when you are introducing a toy, you might want to just take a second and model this lesson. But I love, Carolyn, thanks for sharing the timers. I love that. So this is just a quick, like, little social script that you could use, a toddler version. So I play with my toy. Oh, my friend wants a turn. I hold the toy, then I give the toy. My friend plays. I wait with my hands calm, then it's my turn again. We take turns. Might be something you could share with them. And then this is one for preschoolers, right? Just a social script, social story about taking turns. And so what we want you to do within conscious discipline, right, is to, when these things happen in the moment, to have the skills that you can work on with them right as it's happening. Being able to model and teach some of these also when kids are calm and in their learning brain, so that they can access those when they get upset. Okay, so taking turns. Anybody else have anything they want to share about turn taking or ways that they, like I said, this isn't something new to you all, right? These are things that you work on each day. Anybody else have anything about turn taking? Okay, let's see. One thing that worked for me was placing a tree in each center with 2 or 3 Velcro spots on each tree. When it was time to start the centers, the children would select their center. If a child chose a center that was already full, they had to find a different center to go to. This helped me avoid problems. Great. Do you want to say anything more about that? Did you have to specifically teach that piece about the pom-poms? Anybody? Okay. All right, so then let's talk next about using words. And this one can be kind of controversial as well, because sometimes we just say, use your words, and then we don't give them the words to use. And what we need to do is give them the words to use if they don't have the words. So children often act out because they lack the scripts, or they lack the language. So some of the scripts can include, can I have a turn please? Stop, setting boundaries. I don't like that, or I need help. So without this skill, oops, sorry, let me go back. So without this skill, there will be physical or reactive behavior to replace the communication. And you all have seen that, right? So I wanted to quick go back and bring back Sophie. She has, and Sophie's big voice, she has the stop hand. Anybody read this book with their, trying to get back to my, can't see anybody now. So stop. I don't like it when you, please blank instead. Remember, you're providing some of that language if they don't have it, right? And you're going to practice that with them. So that's the stop hand. So in Sophie's Big Voice, she does her stop hand with her brother Schubert because he's being annoying in the story. So I just put together some of the ones that you might run into and just put them, on a ring. And then those are some things that we might just do a quick little mini lesson on, or when it happens in the moment, I might just show the visuals. So stop. I don't like it when you push me. Please keep your hands to yourself. Remember that last step is always super important. That's what you want them to do. And that's what we always end on because we leave them with what we want them to do, right? We're focusing on what we want, right? That power of attention. And then the stop hand, I don't like it when you take my toy. If you want a turn, you can ask me. Anybody read any of the Sophie books or read the, we would put, I didn't know it, Velcro apple. Take to each center. Oh, nice. Anybody read Sophie's Big Voice at all? Does this sound like something that you could use to teach the script of using the big voice?
I really like the idea of having, like, reading the story and then having those visuals to practice after the story. I think that's so great because you can read it and then show them, but then having the visual to follow up again and again. And even children who still don't have words, they can go get it.
Yes, absolutely. Because I don't have access to, kids in classrooms, you might want to take pictures and create your visuals with pictures of children. And sometimes, if you have children that have issues with one of these things often, you might want to have them be the one in the pictures so that they can internalize that. But I would just, use this as a template. And as things come up, create some of these, put them on a ring. And yes, then you can use them, you can teach them, and then you can have children practice them as well. And then how do kids get help, right? So sometimes,
Picture of
we
you too.
just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's a nice picture.
As far as what ringtone he wants, he has to sit there and listen to
That's a
what
nice
he
picture.
likes. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how to do that? You know how to get to his
Okay,
Here, let me show you how to get to
someone
his
needs to
sounds to help
be,
with the ringtone. So
muted here. There we go. Okay, I think
Okay.
good. It's all right.
We got it.
Yeah.
Oops, I keep doing that. Okay, so just sometimes any type of visuals you can use, that's how children process. And so if they need help or if they're in a situation where they have a conflict with another child, they can always go get the visual that says help and bring it to you. And then they know, that they need help. Then if you have kids who, really need to go through a process, the visual on the bottom is we're going to teach them about pause, take a deep breath, say to yourself, I'm safe, keep breathing, I can handle this. And then they can ask for help, right? So just thinking about some of the ways that you can use visuals to support kids with some of those scripts. Anybody else have anything that they use in terms of, I'm just going to go back a couple. So with turns, with stop or setting boundaries, we're going to talk a little bit more about I don't like that. That's going to be coming up in just a second. Or I need help. Anybody do anything differently?
Um, I personally don't use I don't like that with them. I
Mhm.
just go straight to I don't like when, you know, this person's in my space or whatever the situation might be. I don't normally ever use I don't like that. Because what's that? You know, when someone says it to me, I'm like, well, what do you mean? What is that? So I just have to like,
Mhm.
I just take myself back. And if I'm not going to say that to someone, I'm not going to teach them that verbiage off the back. So that's
Mhm.
just something I do a little different
Mhm.
with them.
Mhm. And sometimes I will use the stop. I don't like that with really young children, right? And then as children are, getting more of that language, then we give them the language to say. So let me show you some examples of that. Let's see. Okay, so joining play is the next one. So many children don't naturally know how to enter play. So the steps include, asking or how to invite others. So without this skill, there will be exclusion, hovering, or as you know, disruptive entry into play, like knocking down block towers and other piece, taking toys, other things. So a quick 3-step visual is look at what's happening, ask, can I play? And then play. So just a quick 3-step way to teach them. And this is something, again, that you're going to practice and model often as children are learning this skill. So just ask, can I play? Okay. Understanding and responding to emotions. And this is a really hard one. I can remember lots of times. And what's hard about it is, kids have to be calm and in the right part of their brain to really see someone else's face. So I know lots of times I would say, did you hit her? And they would say, no. And you'll say, well, he's crying, she's crying. They said you hit them. Nope. Right. So if kids aren't calm and they're not in that thinking part of the brain, they probably won't be able to recognize when someone else is upset. So without this skill, there will be unintentionally hurtful or insensitive interactions. So with really young kids, we just say, see his face. His face is sad. His face is saying, stop, I don't like it. Right. So that's where I use, like with really young children, just stop, I don't like it. But as kids get older, see her face says she doesn't like it when you push her, right? You're giving them the words, stop. She wants you to go around her instead. And then as kids get a little bit older, when something happens, you can say, did you like it? And if they say no, they didn't like it, then you can say, I don't like it when you take my toy, right? You're giving them the words. And eventually, hopefully, they will get to the point where they know what to say because they've learned that assertive voice. So say, I don't like it when you take my toy. See, I use signs with sign language such as stop, help, bathroom, and we review them during circle time, and they gradually start using them as needed. That is great. I love that. Say, if you want a turn, you can just ask me. One of the ways I do a lot, or I used to do a lot of, looking at cues in faces is through picture books. So I have a couple of like infant toddler books, The Making Faces and Baby's Feelings. The Making Faces one I love because and I have it right here. So it's kind of like you've got to look at the face and then, find the sad. So it says, can you make a sad face and then find the sad baby? So they have to look at all the faces. So I love that one. If you haven't spent time in this book, Helping My Feeling Buddies, this is a really helpful book because it helps them learn how to recognize that feeling, what that feeling is looking for, and then how to support and calm and regulate that feeling. So what are some of the books that you all use to teach some feelings and looking at recognizing how people are feeling by looking at faces? What are some of the books that you all use? Anybody? I know there's one that I've used, The Boy with Big, Big Feelings is one. My Mouth is a Volcano is another one that I used to use. I always like the Todd Parr books. Oh, somebody put Todd Parr. I love Todd Parr. His are very silly lots of times.
Helping My Feeling Buddies was a really nice one for younger students, especially ones who were just hitting school and just like, yeah, I really like that one.
Good, excellent. My Brain is a Race Car. I've not heard of that one. I'm going to have to look up that one. Anything else? I saw there was one too that was like Llama Llama Red Pajama, but it was Llama Llama Feelings. Kids really love the Llama Llama books, but anybody have one that they use? My Body Sends a Signal. Oh, I've not heard of that one either. Anybody else? So and that was one I used all the time. See her face, right? See her face. Her face is sad. Her face is angry. Her face is saying she doesn't like it when you do that, right? And then as they're growing and developing, you're going to give them, higher levels of language until they're able to practice and really do that themselves. That scaffolding method. So handling conflict calmly. We know that conflict happens often in play. So without this skill, there will be escalation, aggression. And so these are ones that we're teaching through, are just 5 steps to regulation, but some simple steps are just stop or pause. Be a star, which is taking that deep breath, say your feeling, and then work to solve it. So a quick and easy visual is just that stop or pause. Be a star, so model taking that deep breath. Say your feeling, right? And you can use that with feeling buddies. You can use that with feeling faces. You can use that, through posters that we have. You can print them right off of our website. And then figuring out how to solve. So, if the problem is something with, taking turns, you'll have a way to solve it, or just teaching them some different ways to solve. One of the ways that could be a whole webinar or a whole session in itself is our conflict resolution time machine, which takes kids through steps to problem solve. But working on just getting them to stop, be a star, and name the feeling are the ones. But we always want to come back to what is that solution and how can we figure out what that solution is. And then this one I just kind of put in because I feel like there's a lot of personal space and boundary things that happen throughout the day, touching me, bumped me. So just without this skill, there will be discomfort, conflict, and unsafe situations. So not all children understand those physical limits or social limits. And so steps include, like stop means stop. And we're going to work to keep our hands and body to ourselves. So just a couple of thoughts I had on that. One of the things that we did when we were teaching kids originally about, the space around their body, we had them sit within a hula hoop, right? And everyone had their own hula hoop so they could kind of see that there's this personal space around them. And then we had them bring the hula hoop all the way up and down so they could see that there's this space all around them. I'm not sure if Angela has done this with you, but I know at a training that I was at one time, she just walked up to, the other trainer and wiped her nose. Right. Like, so as adults, we find that kind of intrusive, right? Like if somebody did that, but we do that every day with children, right? And if you've worked with Angela and you've had a doll and she has you practice and say, I'm going to pick you up now. And then you kind of are letting them know what you're going to do, or, oh, it's time to change your diaper. I'm going to, change your diaper now. So kind of that asking before touching. So, can I give you a hug? Would you like a hug? Do you need help? I'm going to wipe your nose now. Just that kind of asking before and I do that with my great nephew Cameron all the time. And now my mom does it, my sister does it. I'm gonna wipe your nose now. Just kind of giving that warning. And then just to be able to listen when someone says stop or no, right, is another one. Oh, my son has sensory processing disorder and he was struggling in class with other children wanting to hug him. I bought his class a book called Too Many Hugs, and it was very helpful for him and his friends. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. The funniest personal boundary moment was he's breathing on me. It was hard to keep a straight face. I love that. Anybody else have anything that they do with teaching personal space, teaching boundaries, keeping hands to yourself? Anybody have anything different that they try? I love that. Too Many Hugs. I'm going to look that up. Anybody else try anything different? Any other ideas? So we did a few. There's lots of different social skills, but what else are you seeing in the classroom that are issues that you're running into, and what strategies are you trying? What's been helpful for you? Anybody willing to share? Any other strategies out there? Any other behaviors that you're seeing? I told my children I had a bubble around me, so they had to ask for hugs. Then they told me they wanted to pop my bubble. Anybody else willing to share? All right. So let's wrap up because I know we're almost at time and I want to make sure I value your time. One of these times I am going to figure out how to do chat rooms. And then you'll be able to go and talk with each other. So think about tonight. What was your most valuable piece of information? And you can come off of mute or you can put it in the chat. Like, what was helpful for you tonight? Or what are some questions maybe even that you still have? What was your most valuable piece of information from tonight? Anybody? Oh, the agreements. Thanks, Carrie. We found those super helpful. Appreciate the visuals, the agreements, micro moments of play. Oh, good, Tammy. I love that. I hope you find those and do those throughout the day. Remember to regulate myself. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all of you. Thought and intentional teaching of skills. Regulate yourself. I like the cleanup signal. Visuals for agreements and the reminder to ask before wiping a nose. I loved that too. It was just so shocking when Angela did it at the training. We were like, oh my goodness, you could just feel the discomfort. And the other person knew about it, but it was just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she just did that. But she said, oh gosh, we do that all the time to kids. We don't think anything of it. Visuals were really helpful. Ask children more for permission. The I don't like that visuals will be super helpful with some students. Are any of these templates available to edit? Or, you know what? I can send you my, I'm still old school and it's just a Microsoft Word document. So I'm happy to send them. You can edit away all you want. You guys probably use Canva and all those really amazing. I'm not there yet. I'm still old school, but yeah, I'm happy to send those. I'll put them all in a document and send those to you.
And then I'll push them out to everyone or Paige. You'll get them and then you can work with them and make them your own.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and like I said, you might want to put pictures of your kids, your children. It's always very meaningful rather than just the clip art and the Google images that I've used. So, all right. So anything else? Any last announcements, Terry, or anything?
Oh, so
Thanks,
many
everybody.
Helpful, yes, so many helpful resources, Heidi. And suggestions. I love the one that you're intentional with teaching the skill and then you put them on a ring for easy resource, and the social stories and the social story for toddlers. I mean, it's great, so helpful. And everyone will get the slide deck and the recording. I did want to make sure it's a save the date kind of thing. We have a upcoming The Art of Living on May 14th, and it's all about the foods that energize and are helpful for our bodies. And I learned so much when I started working with her, and I thought I kind of had nutritional education, but I didn't. And then, so that's May 14th with nurse practitioner Liz Wynette. And then also on June 28th is our summer fling with Conscious Discipline. We just found out that we're going to have a wonderful partnership with Swag and a charcuterie table for more than 100. And it will be great fun. Friends, food, swag, and fun. Right? Yes. So we're going to celebrate year 1 with Conscious Discipline and welcome 2 new cohorts, our Conscious Discipline cohort 2, as well as our Conscious Discipline facilitators that will have just started their training, which takes about a year. So, so much to celebrate. So thank you for coming. There's lots coming up. So watch the Facebook page and the newsletter. Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah. Yes, you're welcome. Find your moments of play, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.